हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम टू माय यूट्यूब चैनल द सोलफुल डायरी। आज के वीडियो में हम प्रोज के बारे में डिस्कस करेंगे। इससे पहले के वीडियो में हमने ड्रामा के बारे में डिस्कस किया था। चलिए, जिसका लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में। चलिए आज की वीडियो स्टार्ट करते हैं। Prose. Prose or non-fiction writing that presents and explains ideas or that tells about real people, places, objects, or events. It is an account or representation of a subject which is presented as fact. This presentation may be accurate or not. That is, it can give either a true or a false account of the subject in question. However, it is generally assumed that the authors of such accounts believed them to be truthful at the time of their composition. Autobiographies, biographies, essays, reports, letters, memos, newspaper articles are all types of non-fiction. Characteristics of prose. Works of prose differ from work of fiction in several ways. The people, events, places, and ideas presented in prose are real, not invented. Prose is narrated by an author who is a real person. It presents facts, describes true values, life experiences, or discusses ideas. Prose is written for a specific audience or group of readers. In addition, it addresses a clear purpose or reason for writing. The audience and purpose influence the type of information a writer includes. Tone, that is, author's attitude toward the subject or reader, is displayed through the writer's word choice and style. The writer contributes more than informal to non-fiction. Style is the particular way in which a writer uses language. Style reflects an author's personality. Factors that contribute to an author's style include level of formality, use of figurative language, diction or word choice, sentence, patterns, and methods of organization. Tone is the author's attitude toward both the subject and reader or listeners. In conversation, you can hear a speaker's tone in the way words and phrases are spoken. When reading, you can hear tone in an author's choice of words and detail. The tone of a literary work can often be described with a single word such as pompous, playful, serious, personal, sarcastic, or friendly. Perspective is the viewpoint or opinion an author expresses about the subject, either directly or indirectly. Bias occurs when a writer makes a one sided representation, for example, by ignoring relevant facts or by using emotional language that unfairly sways readers or listeners' feeling. Purpose is the author's reason for writing. Common purposes are to inform, to persuade, to honor, to entertain, to explain, and to warn. Types of prose. There are four main types or modes of prose that are defined by their purposes. Narrative prose tells stories of real life events, example including autobiographies and memoirs. Some narrative prose is reflective writing which shares the writer's thoughts and feelings about a person, experience, an idea, or a concern. Examples include reflective essays, personal essays, and journals. Expository prose informs or explains. Examples include analytical essays and research reports. Persuasive prose presents reasons and evidence to convince the reader to act or think in a certain way. Examples include editorials and political speeches. Descriptive prose uses details related to the senses to create mental images for the reader. Examples include character sketches and scientific observations. Major forms of prose. Long prose work, the essay, the periodical journals, the biography, the autobiography, and the memoirs. Long prose works. In its ordinary and practical sense, prose is the sustained use of language as we ordinarily speak. Prose is different from verse in the sense that it is not split up into meter or stanza forms like the verse. However, the lack of meter does not mean that prose has no art or aesthetic sense. The writing of distinguished prose has as much as the writing of distinguished verse. In all literatures, written prose developed much later than written verse. Good prose has high aesthetic value and it can make fully make use of all the figures of speech. Good prose can also have high poetic cadence too, as the prose of the Bible. Many forms of literature are normally written in prose only. These include long social, religious, scientific, or metaphysical treatises, essays, prose romances, novels, short stories, biographies, autobiographies, memoirs, travelogues, adventures, and literary criticism. Many great authors wrote long prose works even before the age of Chaucer. They included long religious, metaphysical, political, and biographical treatises and prose romances. The trend has come down ever since to the present day. Some examples of the great prose work are Chaucer's The Treatise or the Astrolabe, Wycliffe's The Bible, and Walter Pater's Renaissance. The essay. An essay is generally a short piece of writing written from an author's personal point of view, but the definition is vague, overlapping with those of an article, a pamphlet, and a short story. Essays can consist of a number of elements, including literary criticism, political manifestos, learned arguments, observation of daily life, recollections, and reflections of the author. Almost all modern essays are written in prose, but works in verse have been dubbed essays. Examples: Alexander Pope's An Essay on Criticism, An Essay on Man, while brevity usually defines an essay. Voluminous work like John Locke's An Essay Concerning Human Understanding and Thomas Malthus's An Essay on the Principle of Population are counterexamples. The periodical journals. A journal has several related meanings: a daily record of events or business. A private journal is usually referred to as a diary, a newspaper, or other periodical, in the literal sense of one published each day. Many publications issued at stated intervals, such as magazines or scholarly journals, academic journal, or the record of the transactions of a society, are often called journals. Although journal is sometimes used as a synonym for magazine, in academic use, a journal refers to a serious scholarly publication that is peer-reviewed. A non-scholarly magazine written for an educated audience about an industry or an area of professional activity is usually called a professional magazine. The word journal is for one whose business is writing for the public press, and nowadays also other media has been in use since the end of the 17th century. The biography. A biography, or simply bio, is a detailed description or account of a person's life. It entails more than basic facts like education, work, relationships, and deaths. A biography also portrays a subject's experience of these events, unlike a profile or curriculum vitae. Resume. A biography presents a subject's life story, highlighting various aspects of his or her life, including intimate details of experience, and may include an analysis of the subject's personality. Biographical works are usually non-fiction, but fiction can also be used to portray a person's life. One intact form of biographical coverage is called legacy writing. Works in diverse media, from literature to film, form the genre known as biography. An authorized biography is written with the permission, cooperation, and at times participation of a subject or a subject's heirs. The autobiography. An autobiography is a written account of the life of a person written by that person. An autobiography is written by the person themselves or sometimes with the assistance of a collaborator or ghostwriter. The memoirs. Memoir, from words from French memoria, meaning memory or reminiscence, is a literary non-fiction genre. More specifically, it is a collection of memories that an individual writes about moments or events, both public or private, that took place in the author's life. The assertions made in the work are understood to be factual, while memoirs has historically been defined as a subcategory of autobiography since the last 20th century. The genre is differentiated in form, presenting a narrowed focus. Like most autobiographies, memoirs are written from the first person point of view. An autobiography tells the story of a life, while memoir tells a story from a life, such as touchstone events and turning points from the author's life. The author of a memoir may be referred to as a memoirist. थैंक यू। आई होप आज की वीडियो आपको पसंद आई। कैसी लगी हमें कमेंट करके बताएं और हमें ये भी कमेंट करके बताएं कि आप आने वाली वीडियोस किस टॉपिक पर देखना चाहते हैं। अगर वीडियो अच्छी लगी तो लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब टू माय चैनल। मिलते हैं कल एक और इन्फॉर्मेटिव वीडियो के साथ शाम 4 बजे। टिल देन कीप वॉचिंग एंड कीप सपोर्टिंग द सोलफुल डायरी। थैंक यू।